not even need Bauer's game for me.
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review. And today I'm very excited checking out Arch Rival, the game of balance, nerves, and suspense from Parker Brothers. This is for 2 or more players. Age is 8+. It'll take anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes to play. And in Arch Rival, this is a game in which you're going to have a really cool 3D arch that you're going to construct in front of you before the game starts. And then once the game starts, you're going to roll dice and put pieces into that arch until the arch collapses. Whoever makes the arch collapse loses the game. Whoever doesn't make it collapse wins the game. It's an old school game that most people have not heard about. But is it good? Let's open it up, and I'll tell you what I think. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Arch Rival. So first and foremost, we have a handy-dandy rule book. It is 1 page, double-sided. It's got a couple pictures here and there, and overall it's well done. It should have you up and running in no time at all. So thumbs up on the rule booklet. Also, I can teach you how to play right now. I will say the most important part of the rule booklet is actually this right here, which tells you the proper way to take these barriers out, because it's very difficult. If you do it wrong, most likely your game is going to end before it begins. So in Arch Rival, what's going to happen is you are going to be rolling these 2 dice on your turn. And each and every turn, you are going to get a color and you are going to get a number. Then you're going to put that number of these really cool looking neon pieces into one compartment of that color. And as you can see, we got red, green, yellow, purple, and 1 blue in the middle. So let's show you how the game works. First thing you have to do is you actually have to remove these these holders right here, because this you actually build at the beginning of each game, which actually looks really cool. So let's carefully take that out. All right, and we very, very, very carefully take this out. Now, I made that look easy, but I will say I've done that about 15 to 20 times now, and I'd say 5 to 6 times, if you don't do it just the right way, the game completely just ended first, before we even got a chance to play. So now what you do on your turn is you roll these 2 dice. So let's roll them up, see what happens. So I have to put 3 pieces into the yellow ones. So I can put it into any of the yellow ones. So I'll go 1, 2, and 3. And you start to see it sinks a little bit there. So now the next person's going to go, roll up the dice. They have 4, and it says Arch Rival. So for Arch Rival, that means the person to your left gets to decide where you place the 4. They can pick any one of these they would like, except for the blue one in the middle, because the blue one in the middle is the one that's most likely to fall. So me being a jerk that I am, I would say, yeah, go right there. So they'd go 1, and they're like, ooh, we should probably put these in a little bit more delicately. They're looking for the small ones. 2, 3, and 4. And you might be getting to see the fundamental problem with the game, because 3 of the 8 faces, actually 1, 2, 3, 3 of the 8 faces have Arch Rival on them. So we roll it up again. And we have 3 yellow, so someone would probably not go there. They'd probably go over here. 1, 2, 3. And as you can see, the thing also moves from the left, and to the right, back and forth. So roll it up again. We got 3 Arch Rival. Someone would probably say, yeah, why don't you put them in there? And you go, oh, man, this is bad. 1, and there's your game. Yeah, so then if everyone else who did not make it fall would win the game. And if you want to set it up again, you get the pillars, put them back in there nice and easy, and you build the structure once again like so. That, in a nutshell, though, is how you're going to play Arch Rival. Oh, one last thing. If you do, somehow, because you're playing a super friendly game, get to the point where all the pieces are in the structure, then the game is not over. You actually then roll the dice, and you have to just roll the color die, and then you have to take all of the pieces out of a compartment. And then if you do that, which I don't know if anyone's ever done, you would just restart the game again, but with the current structure you have. It's not quite worded what would happen if you did that, but that in a nutshell is what you're going to get inside of Arch Rival. Alrighty then, Arch Rival from Parker Brothers. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the pro side. The game is easy to learn, it's easy to teach. It looks really cool. It has cool aesthetic appeal. You're going to see it. And when the game works, it can be tense and it can be suspenseful. And the kids that I played it with were like, they liked the game when it worked. And that's the biggest part I'm stressing. And I also want to put a caveat on that. They liked the game when it worked and when everyone was being nice to each other. Because that is another big thing in this game. If you saw the middle part, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Also, the pieces look really cool. Like, everything about this game looks neat. It also goes 2+ players, so conceivably you could play this 7, 8, 9, 10 players. I don't think you'd really want to, but you could. And it's old, out of print. Probably find it for cheap. It's always good. That's what I got. Moving on to the cons. Arch Rival does not work the way it's intended unless you play the game the right way. So what I mean by that, let's start on the thing. The biggest issue with the game is that the optimal strategy is whenever Arch Rival is rolled, you tell the person to put pieces into whatever has the most pieces in it. It's a no-brainer. It's your best strategy. And there's no reason why you would ever not do it unless you were trying to be nice. And the kids very quickly realized that as we played the game. The best thing to do is say, oh, that one's already full of stuff. Oh, you're going to have to put the 4 in that. And that's your best chance of winning the game. And that's how nearly every game ended, was by them doing that. I did make a house rule. And I just wanted to see what the last part of the game looked like, where you take things out. And I said, okay, changing it up, you have to tell people that if you get an Arch Rival, you just can do the color. You can do the color. You can give them a color to put it in as opposed to the actual quadrant. And that made the game work better. It was more suspenseful. We got to the end of the game where you have to take things out. But therein lies the second problem with this game, which was we didn't actually get to finish that particular game because someone ever so slightly bumped the table. And this game is a bear with that. Like, even the slightest bump to the table, and this thing is just blah, all over the place. It's kind of ridiculous. You also have to be very careful when you're removing the archings at the beginning of the game, because I'm not kidding. There were a couple times where we didn't even get to play the game. We had to restart setting it up because taking out the arches, you have to do it just perfectly. Like, you have to make sure you're holding this part and pulling just right. You can't twist it. You can't turn it. It's just one fluid motion of taking it out. And you will get better at it. You'll learn how to do it. But I don't know if the game's good enough that you really want to learn how to do it and get better at it. Because at its core, it's just a simple, hey, let's roll dice. Hey, let's put stuff in. Hey, let's see what happens type of game. And for most people, that's not going to be their cup of tea. I'd be lying if I said that the kids didn't have some fun with this game. They did. But most of the time was not fun. Most of the time was, oh man, we bumped the table. We have to restart it. Oh man, you're making me put it in here. I know I'm going to lose. And then most of the time they're right. Because once you get to about 8 to 10 things into one particular quadrant, it's going to fall down. And it's just... The game of the game is pretty much just don't roll Arch Rivals. If you don't roll Arch Rivals and you don't bump the table, you're probably going to win. That's another con of the game. Some people are not going to like how the game is structured, where one person loses and everybody else wins. I actually personally like that type of game. But there you go. That's Arch Rival, the game of balance, nerves, and suspense. Balance, yes, absolutely, 100%. Don't bump the table, ever. Nerves? No. Suspense? There can be. Is it a good game? No, it's not a good game. I'd say it is a average to mediocre game that there's a reason it's been lost in the realms of time. It's not one I'm going to be keeping in my collection. I'll give it to some kid in my classroom. And there you go. Arch Rival from Parker Brothers. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below and in the comments below. Let me know. Bridges. Do you ever get freaked out going over bridges? For me personally, only when they're really big. Like, whenever I go to Chicago, or whenever I go to, like, the West Coast, or sometimes when I go to, like, I've only been to New York a couple times, but when you go over the huge, massive bridges, like, the kind of bridges where it's like, all right, this bridge goes out, we're dead. Like, there's no two ways about it. Like, it's not like, we might survive. No, it's like, you're dead. You're just straight dead when you fall off the bridge. Those are the kind of bridges that freak me out, because I know how terrible our infrastructure system is. I'm not trying to make this a political video, but let's pump some money into infrastructure. And I know nobody wants to do it, because it's not appealing. Like, that's not something a politician normally runs on. It's like, yeah, infrastructure. We're going to fix those bridges. Yeah. Because, nobody cares. They want the hot topics. But man, infrastructure, we really need to focus on that. But I'm going to get off my soapbox about infrastructure. As always, thanks for your time, YouTube.